Hi, I'm Don Victory, founder of Energy Mentors. I'm with Team Afterlife from Kenya. Um, you got me online. Any questions for me?
What inspired you to start Power the Community?
I worked 40 years. There's two answers to that. One is Energy Mentors in general, and one's the competition. Uh, I worked 40 years for Exxon. I was approaching age 63. I love my job as a chief engineer. I just didn't want to work 5 days a week anymore, have to go to the office. But I love interaction. I love intellectual stimulation. Also, there's a little bit of religious guilt in my background. I just don't think I should retire and allow to hang out and do nothing and not contribute back to society. And when I actually look at what I could contribute the most with the least amount of work, I am an engineer, so I don't want to be inefficient. It was my collected knowledge of the energy industry for 40 years. And so I wanted to be able to uh, give back and not just be a consumer in retirement. I wanted to be able to contribute to society. And I think as a mentor, we had probably on the order of 200 plus students on the 49 teams that competed in Power the Community. So that's a pretty strong leverage that I have in terms of sharing my knowledge and influence. And, what's kind of mind blowing is with technology like these Zoom sessions, is I can influence a rising generation around the world. I'm a chief engineer retired from one of the world's most major energy companies. And here you guys are sitting around chatting with me, right? So, and you're coming from Nairobi. That type of capability wasn't available 20 years ago, never mind 200 years ago. So, so so to be able to do that, is inspiring. Now, Power of the Community. A couple things kind of influenced me there. Uh, Driving around Houston, Texas, I see housing subdivisions that are being built with the exact same energy infrastructure of 60, 70 years ago. Okay, they're going to put up a whole bunch of houses. They put in high voltage power lines. They put in a natural gas line. And then after a few years, there may be a major storm like a hurricane that blows through Houston. It blows down the wires that's transmitting power to houses. It knocks out power for 3 or 4 or 5 days. Or we have a winter storm that winds up cratering both the electricity system and the natural gas system in the state of Texas. Even though we're mostly a mild condition, we had that with Winter Storm Uri in 2021. So then what do people do? They go out on a retail basis. They put either a small generator in their backyard, they have to wire up to their house, or they put solar panels on the roof, or they put a Tesla Powerwall in the garage. And everyone's kind of doing this retail, and it's a very inefficient construction. It also is very expensive when you scale it over multiple houses. So a lot of energy competitions are about one building, be it a house or an office building or an apartment building. But my idea was if we're going to really think about redefining energy, affordability, reliability, sustainability, if we can broaden the envelope, they teach us in engineering school where you draw the boundary of an energy system that defines where you set the problem. So I expanded the boundary from one or two buildings to 2,000 to see if we could come up with more innovative solutions. For example, you have in your solution a centralized solar bank to harvest energy for your community. You don't have it on every little house. You have it in one location. That means more efficient construction and lower unit costs to produce the same amount of electricity. So that type of systems thinking, by broadening the envelope of the design, I think gives you more opportunity to be innovative. Uh, that coupled with a trip I took to India in 2018. It seemed like every afternoon you'd be sitting in the hotel or you'd be sitting in the office building and you hear all these generators go on, and people were saying they would lose power for hours on end. So people were putting in all their own diesel-driven generators, which are fairly efficient, but release a lot of particulate matter. Again, is there a better solution to approach the problem than just after the fact going in and putting these band-aids onto a central generation and distribution system? Now, one thing I realized at my age, old people don't come up with new ideas. And that's actually shown through studies. If you look at creative people, Charles Darwin when he did his theory of evolution, or Einstein when he did relativity, or musicians, like the Beatles or Mozart or Bach, all their truly innovative work was done before age 30 or 40. Later in life, they were highly skilled and bring a lot of value, but it was mostly not through these groundbreaking ideas. So the last part of my puzzle was I've given up trying to be the innovator. I've also given up trying to provide all the energy for making these things happen. If I could catalyze the rising generation who can bring new ideas to the table, that is probably a more effective way for me to go. I'm pretty effective at asking questions. I can't come up with new ideas anymore, but like your team has showed with your innovative battery swapping solution, uh, you're going to think up things, and other young people are going to think up things that are going to change the mold of how we power the world. Does that make sense? How does that sound?
Very good. Very good. Sounds very nice. Very, very interesting views.
Cool.
Really love. Yeah.
How long did it take to now from starting thinking about it to now actualizing the way you are thinking about it all along?
One more time, Morris.
It seems that you had a bit of time thinking, yeah, from because there are so many thinking points. So how long did that take before you now said, you know what, let me do this now? How long did it take?
After a 40-year career, I'm an overnight success.
That's a lie. I
You
was
know,
gonna
you
say,
you pick up pieces of the puzzle along the way, and you
mm,
you kind of connect dots.
mm,
But certainly, one thing that happened to me was I was a department manager over 130 process engineers, and I had been that department manager for 9 years. And I could probably do that job better than anyone they could have put in it. But it was time to develop the next generation. So my company
um,
did something that was kind of wise. They said, "Hey, we still want your ideas, we still want your mentoring, but we don't want you to be department manager anymore. Why don't you become a chief engineer? We're going to take away your 130 people. We're going to take away the need to do budgets and expense accounts and performance evaluations. And we're going to allow you to sit and think and influence people. And by the way, we're going to give you a promotion and pay you more." So they took away all my headaches, but they challenged me to operate differently. I no longer owned anything, but starting in 2018, I had to influence more indirectly. So I had to think about, and I went through some stumbles on the way, how to do that job effectively. One thing I said I needed to do was I needed to stop behaving like a manager with positional authority. I needed to start behaving like Socrates. I needed to ask questions. And I needed to stop saying, this is what we should do, like a department leader would say. And I needed to keep my mouth shut and let younger people all bring forward their ideas. I actually had a sign on my wall that included 3 out of 10 of my ideas add value and 7 out of 10 don't. And that's because when I had an early or mid-career professional come into the office of a chief engineer, I wanted them to know I don't have all the answers. And by having that explicitly on my wall and showing to them, it was creating the space, the safe space where they could say, hey, this guy admits he gets things wrong 7 out of 10 times. It's okay for me to throw stuff out there because I may not be entirely right, but I know he doesn't have all the answers. And on the chance that I am right, then we can build things together. So I did have a number of years at the end of my career to reflect on how I should be operating as a mentor and not in a position of positional authority. And I really, at first, I struggled with that transition, uh, but then I took to it after some thinking and really enjoyed it the last 3 or 4 years of my career. And that's what the operating mode I wanted to create with Energy Mentors, where I'm asking questions, I'm giving young people the space to bring forward their ideas so that way people can build on them. And if you take the crystallized knowledge of someone who's been in industry for 40 years and can say, okay, you gave me this idea. Here are 3 things about it that I like and will work, but here are 1 or 2 things that may trip you up based on my experience base. So, so build on those 3 that work and mitigate those 1 or 2 areas where history teaches that you may run into a problem, and that will allow young people to better and faster and more efficiently bring to life their ideas. So that's kind of the mojo and the inspiration I'm trying to bring to Energy Mentors is to draw on my experience so they can supercharge bringing to life their capabilities and their new ideas.